Welcome to the Awakened Collective, where we explore the topics of love, spiritual consciousness, and our divine purpose on this planet. Join us as we uncover the truth that our thoughts shape our reality. Welcome to the Awakened Collective. I'm Rick Gregory, and it's so good to have you here today. And a special thank you to Audio Alchemy Productions, Daniel Anderson. Thank you, Daniel, for the gift that you are to the world and helping us all get our messages out. And as always, I want to remind you that you have never, not for a nanosecond, been separated from your Creator, and we have never been separated from one another. You are the divine extension of your Creator's love on this freaking planet. Our title for today's podcast episode 25, is From Inward Healing to Outward Service. Rising above self-sabotaging, limiting beliefs, owning our power, and changing the world. That's what our topic is today. And I have not one, not two, but three special guests with me this morning. It's our first time with that number of guests, so my friend Daniel over here is going to be pinging like a crazy man, trying to get people on the camera. These are three folks that I can now call dear friends who have been with me on this emotional intelligence journey that you've heard me talk about the last couple of weeks. And they are, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves in just a minute, but I'm going to give you their names. We have Kelcey Wohlgemuth, Jorge Dewey, and Stephen Lewis. And as I said, I'm going to have them introduce themselves in just a minute, but I wanted to say that just a few short weeks ago, I didn't know these folks. They were strangers to me. And now I would say I have a deeper connection with them than I do with many of the people in my life. We have shared our shadows. We have shared our weaknesses. We have seen each other. And we've also seen each other's strengths and gifts. And we've reclaimed our power together and are so much stronger for it. And the last two podcasts that I've done, one with Andrew and then one with Andrew and Jean Marie, which was the last one, you heard me discuss our experiences and on this emotional intelligence journey, the training and the workshops that we have attended, provided by Ascension Leadership Academy in Austin, Texas. And you've heard about the impact that they've had on my life personally, on the lives of those who have shared. And that, the Ascension Leadership Academy is one container. There are similar containers. They call them containers all over the country that go by different names. But I received an invite from someone who loved me very much to attend ALA, or Ascension Leadership Academy in Austin, Texas. It came from my son, who had been asking me for over a year, I think, to check out this training. And I took what he was saying with a grain of salt. I saw it through the eyes of my own conditioning and experience, thinking, gosh, in my 30 plus years career, I have been to every leadership seminar, self-help training, whatever, self-development. I've been to them all, and I couldn't imagine that this was going to give me anything else. And then in addition to that, I thought there had to be something in it, something in it for you, Andrew. You must be, getting some kickback or making some money or some points or, something's going on that you're getting something out of this. And you know why I thought that? Because I wouldn't have done it unless I was getting something out of it. I wouldn't be going around telling people about it. So, that was my own self-limiting beliefs, that unless I was getting something, I wouldn't participate in helping others get into the group. But I saw, in a very short period of time, that was not the case. That my son was asking me to go all those times because he loved me. Just because he loved me. And it's pretty sad that I had a hard time wrapping my arms around that, my head around that, thinking that there had to be something else in there. That changed. And so now I've attended, and it has changed my life. And I wish that I had done it a year ago. And my son and I are on a journey, and we have decided that we are going to write a book together called An Invitation to Heal, a father and son's journey of awakening to forgiveness, healing, and freedom from generational trauma. And I get his frustration today. You know, when can you put up the picture, Danny, of Andrew? This, I know that for those of you who are listening by podcast, you can't see this picture, but you can check out my Facebook page, and all of the links to all my social media are on my website at theawakencollective.org. There's a picture being put up of my son Andrew and I, and in this picture, I am apologizing to him for not believing him, for just thinking that he had to have something else that he was getting out of asking me to go to this training. Um, and I get his frustration now. And in this picture, Andrew is in tears, and I could feel those tears because there are folks that I love in my life that I want to experience this so badly. And when I share my heart with them, sometimes they just look at me like I just drank some freaking Kool-Aid. And I thought the same thing. And yet here I am to tell you that I was mistaken. So this is one of my favorite pictures because I feel it too when I reach out to other people today. And all I can do now is what Andrew did. I can continue to love, encourage, and be there for them, believing that one day these folks that I love will say yes. And I think this is going to be a stretch here, but if I were on my deathbed and someone asked me if I had any last requests, I would look at the people who love me around my bed and say, every one of you needs to get your ass into an emotional intelligence container by whatever name and do this work because it is life changing and it will change your life, the way you see the world. But I don't want you to just listen to me either. And that's why I have 3 special guests today that are going to introduce themselves and tell us their story, a little bit about, how they got to this point and how their path ended up meeting my path here, who it is that cared for them deeply, that reached out to them, and how this experience has changed their life, their world, and how they want to now give back. So I am going to go ahead and open it up, and I'm going to say ladies first, but folks, chime in here anywhere. So Kelcey, get us started.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Rick. I'm really honored to be here and to share my story. So my name is Kelcey Wohlgemuth. I live in Maryland, and ALA was brought to my attention by my best friend Jen. We have always kind of been on a journey together, kind of sharing self-help type books, podcasts and things like that, and having those kind of deeper conversations. And this past winter, we were having a conversation. I was like, I just feel like I have so much more love and so much love to give to my husband and to my kids, and I have so much more to give to my students, and I just don't know how to access that. Students, because I'm a teacher, I'm a special education teacher. And she was like, Kelcey, I'm in this leadership group. You got to, let me tell you about it. We had lots of conversations about it. And it really has allowed me to level up and access that love that I have for my husband and my children. But I mean, it was, it took a lot of time to honestly get there and to get enrolled. So, which I'm sure we all have our own stories of the different conversations. Rick, like you said, it took a while, a year. And it took probably like 6 or 7 conversations of Jen and I talking through it.
What were some of your thoughts when you were, if it took 6 or 7, you must have had some thoughts along the way that were not allowing you to say yes sooner, like I know I did.
Yeah. I mean, really not trusting myself, honestly. And that's kind of when the process started, right? Like I knew that I needed something else, but I didn't trust myself to make a decision to say, yes, this is it. I can do it. I was waiting for someone else to tell me. I'm 37 years old. That's crazy, and I could identify that, but I still didn't have the confidence to make that decision independently. I also felt bad because I was going to be leaving my children and my husband, to take care of them for a couple weekends. So those are two of the big things. And then of course the money, as a teacher, historically, we don't make a lot of money. And I have an amazing husband who's very supportive and was like, let's go for it. But still, it felt selfish. It felt selfish.
And what did you think like after? So we've all been to 3 weekends. We've got a couple to go. What are your thoughts about the money today? Just curious.
I would have paid 10 times the amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you hear from most people.
Yeah.
And how do you explain that to someone? It's like you can't. I wish that you could just translate your experience, like put your hands on their head and they could
Right.
feel what you feel.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be so much easier.
Yeah,
We've got to come up with
exactly.
that technology. Get to
Yeah.
work, Stephen, on that.
So much easier. Yeah, you're right.
That's awesome. And so, what are you? Tell us about your neurodivergent work that you're doing.
Yeah. So I work with students who are neurodivergent and their families really. And what I've found in my journey through ALA is that I've been able to kind of let go. Whereas, 6 months ago, I was taking on a lot of like this empathy and honestly frustration when I would talk to families and say, and and they would not really have the tools or the understanding of how to help their student. And I would get so caught up and in the, why aren't they reading the books? Why don't they take a class? Why don't they do this? Da 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 da. When really now I've been able to shift and taken out, interchanged my empathy for compassion, right? So I still have compassion for the families and my students' parents, but it's not the draining, right? It's okay. Well, that's my goal now. The reason I'm put on this earth is to now be a tool to help them find, whatever's going to be most effective for their student, whether it's a book or a website or another support person. So it's really kind of given me more energy to support my students and their families in the shift through all this training.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do, Kelcey.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love teachers. Thank you so much. Well, let's go to Stephen.
Hello and good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Thank you again for this and great share, Kelcey. The container that we're in allows us to really, again, we're all in different areas of the United States, and I think that's the greatest aspect of the program. It's bringing like-minded individuals together, and we don't necessarily have to be together locally in one place. So, a little bit about me and my background, real estate background for the last 12 years. And what ALA, Ascension Leadership Academy, really has helped me recognize is that my love and my compassion in real estate doesn't necessarily have to translate to just sales, right? And how do you directly reflect on your life of what you're passionate about, but you're kind of stuck in something that you're just showing up 9 to 5 every single day with, right? So how do you really dive into your true passion and give back to a community? Like Kelcey said, I know that I'm here to serve on this earth to educate and provide my knowledge in real estate now and serve others, right? And outside of a salesperson capacity. And with the help of ALA and some other programs and trainings that I've been through over these last few years, it's really helped me elevate to that level. So just taking again, direct reflection of your life and recognizing, hey, where am I playing small? And, the person who recommended this program, his name is Jing. And I've been using that phrase quite often. It's where are we playing so small in our lives, where ALA and the container that we're in and the people that we surround ourselves with really help elevate us to the next level. And what I've recognized over the last week, 2 weeks, is we feel like, or at least I felt like, going through a program where we're always going to be on this high, we're never going to come back down low where we're sad or we're angry. And over these last 2 weeks, I actually felt all of those emotions. Sure. And the benefit of going through this program is the fact that we're recognizing and being aware of those emotions, yet not letting those emotions really affect an ongoing long-term effect on us, mental health, physical health, right? And letting it maybe sit with that for 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, and having the right support, right? What we call power groups, right? And having individuals that are reaching out to you one-on-one. That's love. That's family. And that's what you get at ALA.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to just make sure that you're not stuck in that emotion for any given long period of time, that it's okay to recognize that, right? It's okay to be sad, but recognizing what's making you sad, and then shifting that mindset very, very quickly of what you felt like made you sad and turn it actually into a blessing.
Yeah. That shift, yes. And it's, and to be able to recognize that I get to do this, I get to change the way I'm thinking right now about this situation, and I can reach out to these people who truly do care about me. And we are the average of the 5 people we hang out with the most, and we've upped our game by the folks that we've surrounded ourselves with now, that are holding us accountable, and we get to hold them accountable because we want that in our lives.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, Rick, it's your influence was your son, right? Yep. And very similar story. Jing was trying to get me to ALA for the longest time, and after the first weekend, I looked him in the eyes when I gave him his hug, and I said, Jing, I wish I listened to you so much sooner, right? And for those of you listening in on the fence, for the friends that I've recommended to this program and this training that are already enrolled, I'm so excited. And for those that are listening in that, have heard the story and heard some previous podcasts that Rick has been putting on, and what we just shared with Kelcey, it's, yes, we paid X amount of dollars for the program, and I there's no amount of money that I could attach to this and say, hey, for this amount, or 10 times that amount, or 100 times this amount, what we are going through, right, is so special. And my friends continue to ask, and it's so hard to truly like pinpoint and describe, because your experience is on such a vast spectrum that it's so hard to really like pinpoint it in just a few short minutes with your friends.
That's right.
So yeah, just wanted to reiterate that the experience, the people that you're meeting, and the price. It's yeah. Yep. I would say it's priceless, for sure.
And people hear, like I said, people hear us, and they're hearing us now, saying there's got to be something in it for you, and yet, yeah, you know what's in it for me, and I think you all would agree with me. It's to see your face when you have gone through this process. To see your face and to hear the words, oh my gosh, my life has changed. I've saw faces of people, day one when we first came in, and I'm sure you all did too, and you couldn't recognize them after that second weekend. How about you, Jorge? Did you see anyone like that?
I think pretty much everyone in that container shifted from some sort of negative or closed down emotion to someone that was open and loving and trusting. And it was truly a beautiful experience that I wish I could just share with the whole world. And I guess that's what we're doing here, Rick. Thank you for having us here. It's such an honor. And thank you for sharing that moment at the beginning of when you apologized to your son. I cannot express how touching that moment was, and how beautiful it is to see two people just showing up for each other like you and your son showed up for each other. So that picture that you put up definitely captures some of that, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, tell us about you, Jorge.
Yeah, well, my name is Jorge Dewey, and I live in Austin, Texas. I am blessed to live here in what I consider to be the best city in the world. And I came to ALA out of pure divine coincidence. I was at a point in my life that I had years of unaddressed trauma and health issues, and I was burning out in my business, and I was definitely looking for a lifeline. And out of pure divine coincidence, I met my angel Vanna, and she mentioned something about transformation, and I saw a light in her eyes and a sparkle, and I said, I want some of that. And without really knowing Vanna, I took a step of faith, and I signed up for the program right away. And to this day, it is probably the best decision I have made for myself. It is truly a gift that we get to experience this and have this container and the tools that helps us step into our authenticity, into our freedom, take down limiting beliefs, and more importantly, gain some tools to continue doing that, right? Because as Steven said earlier, the negative emotions, the angers, the frustrations, the insecurities, they don't go away. We're just more equipped now to deal with them. And I think one of my biggest takeaways is that we are all on the same boat. When you go through this process alongside with other 30, 40, 50 people, I realized that we're all experiencing the same bunches of insecurities and fears and limiting beliefs. Some people experience more of these and some people experience more of that. But at the end of the day, we're all having this human experience, and it's a shared experience, and we don't have to be a lone wolf. We don't have to tough it out on our own. There are people out there who want to support, and ALA is just such a beautiful vehicle for that.
Yes, it is. So you were one of the ones that just jumped right on board, both feet in day one. No pushback from Jorge.
Not at that moment, but the way I see it is I pushed back on the universe for many years before I realized that I needed some help. I spent years quite literally getting into accidents and having these experiences that upon reflecting back, it was the universe very clearly telling me to redirect my life, and I wasn't listening. I was hard-headed. I was stubborn. I wanted to do it my way. I thought that I knew better than the universe. How silly.
Yeah. I think we've all been there, maybe daily.
Yeah.
Can we put all the pictures up, any of all of us? And I'm sorry, just the pictures of the folks. Can we put all of us on the one screen at the same time? So I was just thinking, that I've been, and you guys know this about me, so I've been in recovery for a little over 5 years now. And one of the things that, well, we go through the steps, and you're from a lot of, you can go overeaters or declutterers or whatever. They're out there for everything, all kinds of 12-step programs. And, one of the steps talks about looking at your defects of character. You identify what your defects or your shadows are, kind of, if you want to relate it to ALA language. You look at them. And you put them on paper, and you ask a power greater than yourself to remove them, and so you become aware of them, and that's really a big step forward. But what ALA has done for me, and I'm opening this up for some discussion, is it's collapsed like the timeline. So working on my defects of character, I've been doing that now for 5 years, and they still crop up, and it's over a period of time. I might have an event in my life that will cause something to elevate that I need to look at. Why did I behave that way? And what I've seen with ALA is that it's an intensified, I'm going to need some help with some words from you guys, but it's the steam is up, and you are in a situation which you have agreed to, have become willing to participate in. You're even asked, are you all in every time we have an exercise? And you put yourself in a position where you are triggered, where you are able to now see in a very short time frame all of the shit, pardon me, that you've still got going on in your head, all of the limiting beliefs, and the why am I attracting these unfavorable things in my life? Why am I attracting these negative results in my life? Where have I been closed off and pushing away what I really actually want to attract? Where have I been stuck in negativity, and how can I take my power back? All of that stuff, is intensified. The heat is turned up, and you are forced to look at it. So the timeline is collapsed. Has that been your experience, and can you explain it any better than I just tried to? Anyone, Mia.
I'd love to chime in and just add the fact that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's been my newest phrase that I've been carrying since going through ALA. And yes, it's collapsing the timeline, but you're under this pressure, as you call it, Rick, and it's triggering you in every aspect. And when you get to the other end, and I just shared this, with the group earlier in the week, where we always enter into something with negative thoughts or overwhelming thoughts of like, oh my gosh, what, this, you put things into your mind of how you think it's going to be. And then at the other end of and you, in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, wow, why did I stress? Why did I overthink? Why did I fill in the blank? And when you look back and recognize, like, holy cow, I executed at such a high level. But leading up to it, right, the amount of triggers, the whatever comes up in your mind, right, and you're under the gun, so to speak, you're under this pressure, yet all of the exercises that we were put through, the phrase that I continue to reflect on is how you do one thing is, or how you did this thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And where you're overthinking a bit, maybe I didn't execute or you procrastinated. It's like, okay, I procrastinated here. Wow. That's how I actually show up in my real life too. So
yes.
to really add on to that, right? That phrase.
Perfect.
I love that phrase, Stephen. That phrase resonates with me every day. The way I see ALA, the way I can describe it is you're on the highway of life, and ALA is the HOV lane or the express lane. I don't know what it's called in your state. And you're going down this express lane, just kind of speeding up the process of internal growth and facing your fears. And you're doing it in a convertible, and it's rain or shine. You may get some rain and some bugs, but you're having fun. And this is the way to a full and authentic life, whether it's ALA or some other container that takes you through a similar process. It's something that we owe it to ourselves, because we live in a world that is so cluttered and so distracting and so focused on external things that we get to be very intentional about putting ourselves in a position that frees us from our mind.
And I love that analogy on the HOV lane. That was great. Kelcey, did you have anything you wanted to share? I didn't know if I heard you chiming in.
Yeah, no, I'd like to share kind of about like the breakthroughs and kind of when you're triggered. A lot of my breakthroughs and triggers come in unexpected times. I mean, the times where I'm, if I thought someone would ask me, hey, we're going to do this activity on Friday, would you be into it? Sure. But when it's a surprise activity and it's like on a time period, I had a totally different reaction. And I got to look at that though, and in a safe spot with lots of support and lots of love, and an opportunity then to like debrief afterwards and say, hey, did anybody else feel this way? And kind of like work through it so that it doesn't continue to be my pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Yeah, because I mean, in the real world, when we're dealing with this stuff, what do you do with it? I mean, you could have a meltdown in Walmart in aisle 3, whatever that can happen. But what typically doesn't. What we do is we have all these feelings and all this crap, and then we just bury it. We just we're just like we think poorly of ourselves or whatever it might be, and we just bury it, and that just builds and builds and builds, and then comes out at the most inopportune time at dinner table when you're sitting there with your kid and they drop the fork on the floor. Right. And whatever happened at Walmart, it comes out at the dinner table. You know what I mean? Because we don't know how to deal with those things. But like you said, Kelcey, in a safe place where we've agreed this is a safe place, we can practice. And we can have meltdowns right in front of somebody, and it's okay. And then we can find out that someone else is having a meltdown for the same exact reason, and why. And we can look at ourselves, and we can find that there is a way to shift to a different mindset. I love it. I love that.
And I want to just piggyback off of that, Rick, because when in the container that you are allowed to share, you don't feel shameful to share. And there's many times that I've shared with the group the emotions that I'm going through, and then the private messages that come to me separately and that say, hey, thank you for sharing, because me too.
Yep.
Right. And that's so beautiful. And again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Leading up to ALA, I'll hold those emotions in. When in reality, what I've been learning over the last few weeks is the fact that the more I vocalize, the more I relate to others and others relate to me. So we aren't that unique, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be fearful to share, because your share could actually impact others. And that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. Every experience we've had, I look at, again, in recovery, every experience I've had, the darkest places have been used today to help someone else. And so nothing is ever wasted. It's just powerful.
One of the favorite quotes I think I've heard during this process is be the permission. So Stephen, to your point, when you open up and you're vulnerable, which vulnerability is a gift, when you're vulnerable, it allows somebody else then to do the same. And so I always kind of say that in a classroom with students, but now I get to do it with my friends and my family and the people that are closest and most important to me. And it's just on a different wavelength than in the classroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give someone else permission when you do that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, talking about sharing and vulnerability, I do want to share one of my takeaways and one of the results of this program. What it did for me was that I had been smoking marijuana for 20 years of my life, and certainly ALA is not an addiction program or anything like that. But as I came out of weekend 2, I was feeling so high on life, and I still am. And, when I picked back up, that bowl after weekend 2, and I sparked it up, and as soon as I inhaled it, I realized that I hated how I felt when high. I hated what it made me feel like, what it made me like. And I realized that marijuana was not serving me anymore. And even more so, I realized that I knew that it wasn't serving me for the past few years, and yet I couldn't find the strength to stop smoking. And it seems like such a trivial thing, and not to demonize marijuana. I know it does a lot of good for a lot of people, and is definitely a plant that has a sacred place in this world. But for me personally, I was abusing it, and it was not serving me. And when I realized what the truth of life was, which was to be fully myself and authentic, and I compared that to the high, there was no point of comparison. And that moment, I took everything I had and I literally flushed it down the toilet. And I had never felt more free in my life. And that was just an unintended consequence of this program, that I got to unshackle myself from marijuana. So if there's anybody out there who is feeling the same thing, who smokes every day out of habit, out of not really knowing how to deal with things otherwise, reached out to me on Instagram. I know Rick's going to share that, and I'd love to help you out through that process.
Awesome. That's wonderful. That's funny. That second weekend for me too, Jorge, I had reduced my nicotine level with my vape, and I had been telling the world, the universe, everybody I knew that I wanted to stop vaping. I just couldn't do it. And, I like I said, I reduced the nicotine level, but I just could not put it down. And it had been 14 years. I started vaping after my husband died of an accidental overdose. I needed a vice, and that's what, and just been going on ever since. And then that second weekend, I said, Rick, this is something you've been wanting to do. And it's gone. I've I finally put it down. So grateful for that. And again, I know, like Jorge said, ALA is not a place to, come and be relieved of your addictions, but it was the waking up, that I'm worthy of a life of health and strength and power. I'm worthy of those things. And it's that it's changing the way I see myself, helps to put things like that down.
Yeah, and it's just a natural byproduct. I think that's the beauty of it, right? It's both of you vulnerably shared that, and I thank you for sharing that. And again, it's just a byproduct. Personally, I went into this. I trusted Jing. I trusted my friend. I had no clue what I was getting myself into, truth be told.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the friendships that we've gained, the experiences that we've gained, and all of the other natural byproducts of this, right? Cutting down on vaping, removing marijuana from your life, personally just being able to rediscover the joyful things in my life when I've been so focused on just work for the last 10, 12 years. So again, thank you for sharing, right? And for those of you listening, if there's certain expectations that you're really looking to get out of ALA, I'd honestly just say, if you trust us or if you trust listening to our stories, just show up, right? Just showing up for yourself, because we're all going through our own journey.
Thank you, Stephen. This has been so much fun. Promise we will get to do this again after we've completed all 5 of our weekends.
Absolutely.
You up for that?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Any closing comments? And I'm going to put up our contact information for folks. Just want to ask if anyone has any final comments before I do that.
I'd like to share one thing too. Oh, go ahead, Kelcey.
I was just going to quickly say, sign up, take the leap of faith, believe in yourself. You are worthy. Go to ALA. It will change your life.
Thanks, Kelcey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, I saw a video from one of our members. She sent a video to our group chat yesterday, and she helped me bring out and recognize things that I don't even see in myself. And what I'd like to just share here is the fact that I was so nervous to be on this podcast, Rick, right? And in our head and overthinking and all of that. In reality, it's just how we do one thing is how we do everything. And it's like, I had a blast, right? It's just a conversation, and we're just chatting as buddies and as friends. And in reality, it's how are we showing up every single day, overthinking things, thinking the worst, right? And in reality, it's like, holy cow, having a blast, right? So I really appreciate the opportunity here, and to share that with Kelcey and Jorge as well, as we go through this transformation and this journey together. So again, if you're listening to this and you're on the fence, reach out to one of us. It took me a while, as Rick shared. It took him a while as well. I'm based here in New Jersey, and one of my biggest plans is to get to Austin, to Texas in the next week or so. So by the end of June, early July, I'll be in Austin, and I've been in Jersey my whole life. So that in itself is a drastic move. And if it wasn't for ALA, I wouldn't have mustered up the courage to even do that.
And we'd love to have you, Stephen. I can't wait for you to be in Austin. My closing comment would be, one of my favorite takeaways is that the best way to help yourself is to help others. So whether you make a leap to go into ALA or a similar container, the biggest thing I can tell you is, at any moment that you're feeling a little bit down or frustrated or sad, pick up the phone and call a friend and just tell them how amazing they are. And I promise you that will make you feel an infinite world of better.
That's perfect.
Well said.
Thank you, Jorge. All right, Danny, could you put up contact information for these fine people? So if you are blessed enough to actually know one of these folks and they reach out to you to share their experience, please jump in with both feet. But here's their information. Stephen Lewis, Instagram, SLEW, SLEW 28. Stephen Lewis, that's his Instagram. For those of you listening on podcast, SLEW 28. Kelcey Wohlgemuth, I hope I'm saying that right.
Yep.
Her Instagram is Sprouts Learning Hub. Sprouts, SPROUTS, Learning, LEARNING, Hub, HUB, Sprouts Learning Hub. And then Jorge Dewey, his Instagram is JDS Modern Life, JDS MODERNLIFE, JDS Modern Life. That's all of their Instagram accounts. And as always, you can reach out to me as well at the Awaken Collective. Everything you need to know about us is out there. All of my social media platforms, a way to get to me on email. And anything at all, any questions you have, if you want to learn more about ALA, or you just want to tell us you're enjoying the podcast, or you've got some concerns or anything, we'd love to be able to help in any way we can. As Jorge said, reaching out to others is what gives us the greatest joy. So give us that opportunity. Let's see. You also see my books that are out there. I've written some books, and I also have some books that I highly recommend that have been life-changing for me. So there's a tab out there for books. Check those out, and there's a complimentary one-on-one call if you're interested in coaching. So thank you again to my guests, to Jorge, to Kelcey, to Stephen. Thank you so much for being with me today. You are gifts to the world, and you're all podcast experts now. And thank you to Audio Alchemy Productions one last time. Until next time, my friends, love and kindness, always.